Today's episode is sponsored by Worm Return, using food scraps to create landscapes, not landfills. Hey everybody, how's it going? Yeah, I know. It's wacky out there. Don't want to even talk about that. So let's talk about the weather. It's snowing again here in Pittsburgh, but it was 75 degrees on Saturday when Brett and I went to the only outdoor farmers market that is truly year-round here in Pittsburgh, the Sewickley Farmers Market. We had a great time. We saw some old friends like Jane Dillner from Dillner Family Farm, and Jack's Bakery was there. We picked up some honey from Meadow Sweet Apiaries and some mushrooms from the Gray Family Farms. We got some lettuce from the Lettuce Ladies, and we met the new owners of Cherish Creamery. I picked up some pierogies from a Ukrainian couple out there, and it was a really good trip. It was well worth the drive. Although I'm still wondering where the fresh green produce is. I mean, Jane Dillner, we did get some pea sprouts from Jane. Maybe she sold out of other stuff. There weren't any other veggie farmers there. The Lettuce Ladies, they're hydroponic, and they grow sprouts too, which don't need soil. But where's the rest of the fresh growing food like I was finding in my backyard? Like I am finding in my backyard, but just not in large quantities. I want more. I want to reach out to the farmers and ask, but I know that they're busy with getting things in the ground in time for markets that do start in about 4 weeks. So maybe I'll ask them when I see them at market. I'll see if they have anything they would have brought to market during this downtime. I feel like they do, or if there was a market, maybe they would plan to have stuff in the ground. I mean, it's not really downtime that these farmers have. They're always planning and planting and preparing for months in the future. So I'm just curious what this gap is. Anyway, on the way back from the market, we stopped at the thrift store on Route 65. I think it's called the Red, White, and Blue. And we each found 3 sweaters. Now, I've been on the hunt for cashmere sweaters for years, and finding them at a bargain is just so great. They're snuggly and comfy and lightweight, but so warm. It's really a superior material. But don't tell the thrift stores, because I got all 3 of these gems for under $20. And then we stopped to visit Lisa Freeman at Freeman Family Farm and Market, and she was planting potatoes. And then we went to Chateau Bene for lunch. Chateau Bene, if you haven't been there, it's on Brighton Road in the north side. And they specialize in Trinidadian vegan cuisine that is just so tasty and delicious and flavorful. And we had all of the food. It was so good. But now the cold is back, and it's a perfect day to cozy up with a warm cup of chai and a good story. Today's episode is with Jayashree from Popping Mustard Seed, who brings the vibrant flavors of India into your home. Her journey from engineering to cooking is sure to inspire you to try something new in the kitchen, and she can teach you. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hi everybody, welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. I am so excited. My guest today is Jay from Popping Mustard Seeds. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. My name is Jayashree Iyengar. For ease, people just call me Jay, which is fine. And I have a business called Popping Mustard Seeds, as you mentioned. My main business is to teach cooking classes. I also have evolved, and I've started making meal kits, similar to a HelloFresh or Blue Apron, where you give all the ingredients in a kit and the instructions on how to cook. And typically we make a dinner, which is 3 dishes. And it's very local. I don't mail anything to anyone. My meal kits are available for pickup or delivery in the East End. Pick up anywhere in the Pittsburgh area. If you're able to come and pick it up in the East End, we do that, and we do deliver around the East End. And I also have a product, chai masala, which is the spices that go into making tea. So those are what I'm currently doing. I teach at FIPS at least once a month. Some months I don't, sometimes twice, depending on my schedule. And I also go to people's houses in their kitchen and give them cooking lessons. Sometimes it's a cooking party, sometimes it's just one-on-one. I've done that. or just a couple, or a couple and friends. Sometimes kids have participated in the cooking, which really excites me and amazes me. I'm impressed by the parents allowing them to cook. So that's about me.
I'm curious about the meal kits because in Indian cooking, I haven't done a lot of it, but I've done enough to know that the spices are put in at different times during the cooking process. It's very chemistry based. And so how do you do that? Do you have little separate packages for all the different spices?
Exactly. You're right about Indian cooking being putting stuff various times. I call it layered cooking. So what goes when, to me, is very important because of the way it's going to taste at the end of your meal. For example, if you have whole spices, I always want to toast them first. For example, popping mustard seeds. The name of my company came to be because in South India, where I come from Chennai, which most people are familiar with these days. In that area, not just in South India, in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, but there are other states in South India, we all use popped mustard seeds to flavor and garnish our dishes. So when I was thinking of what name to give my company, popping mustard seeds came to mind for that reason. So I told you that because we were talking about layered cooking. Layered meaning what goes at what time. So if it's whole spices, I always want to toast it first. For example, popping mustard seeds or cumin or cinnamon or cloves, those are whole ones. Now, if you can go into your onions and garlic and ginger. That's the second layer typically for me because they have moisture in them, and for them to have the taste in your dish, you need to saute them first, because if you throw in with all the other vegetables, you're not going to roast them enough and the flavors are not going to come out. So then so on and so forth, and then you put your vegetables, your water, salt. I usually do the salt at the end. If it's powdered spices, you can put it at any time. I would say put it after you put a little moisture in there, because they tend to stick to the bottom of the pan and then it can kind of become a little burnt. So to avoid that, you may want to put it when you're toasting your onions or later, So that's kind of what you meant by layered cooking. So how do I do this for meal kits? I have little containers. I have to brag that they are sustainable containers. They're compostable containers. I have 2-ounce and 4-ounce containers where I pack in everything, if or each spice is packed, but sometimes spice blend together is packed because they can all go in together when you're making the dish. And now I also have little packets like, paper bags, sandwich bags, where you can put in something that doesn't fit in my 4-ounce containers for if I have rice. Or dal, for instance, which is lentils. So I pack them that way. And then I do have plastic bags currently for my produce. But, when I first started it, I went and bought these, 1,000 plastic bags or whatever, because they were so cheap, wholesale. But I'm trying to get rid of them at this point, basically. So, and then they all come in a brown paper shopping bag. With the logo of my company. And then there's instruction sheets which comes with it. I'm lucky to have my good friend Jess Canos, who does all the photographs for me. We test out the recipes first several times before we come up with the instructions, and then based on the instructions she comes and then we shoot this whole process, the 3 dishes that I'm making, and then she takes pictures. And then we put it all together with the instructions. So that's how the meal kit works.
That's wonderful.
It's a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling at the end of the day.
That's great. And your cooking classes, you do at FIPS, and did you say the East End Food Co-op as well?
I do not do East End Food Co-op. Okay. I have given classes there. Most of my classes involves cooking on a stove, and they don't have a kitchen facility.
Gotcha.
And so it's a little bit difficult, but I've tried a couple times. I've made dishes. that involves just potatoes, and then rest of the things you can mix, buy and mix or whatever. So that kind of stuff I've done before. I've done tea before, which I make the tea ahead of time and just talk about tea and show them the spices that go into tea. But FIPS is one of the main places I teach. I have taught at Craft at Chatham when they were still doing a lot of workshops, and recently they haven't been doing it because they have a commercial kitchen at Eden Hall, so I've taught there too. Occasionally go and do some workshops and talk to the kids. I still do that actually, or take food for a seminar or something, yeah. And Trevor Ring, who was in your podcast, he was teaching fermentation, and I went and did some Indian dishes that need to be fermented in his class. So, I'm constantly doing something with them.
So speaking of Chatham, you went to Chatham for their food studies program, which is something we have in common. We weren't there at the same time at all, but how did that come about?
Oh, well, long story. How much do you want to know? No, I'll keep it short.
Everything.
From the beginning. I'm an engineer in the past. In my previous career, I'm a mechanical engineer. I got my undergrad degree in India, and I came to the US for grad studies in mechanical engineering. So I was at Stony Brook for a year, and then I moved to CMU. So that's where I got my master's degree in mechanical engineering. And then I started working for Westinghouse, which most people in Pittsburgh are familiar with. And I was working for them for many, many years. Sometimes as contractor, sometimes as employee, but a total of 25 plus years. And in 2015, actually even before 2015, we moved to Cranberry in 2010, our group. They were slowly moving people from Monroeville to Cranberry. Monroeville, we were in the energy center, which was not a bad drive for me from my house to there. It was 20-25 minutes. But Cranberry, much further away. It was more than 35, sometimes 45 minutes. In the snow, it'll be an hour and a half sometimes. So I started, once we moved there, and I started thinking about doing something different. If I ever quit this, what am I going to do? And cooking classes was, long story short, I've been thinking about, there are many people, I should say, were asking me about learning to cook the food that I fed them. They either were at my house for a party or, we just friends. And I decided to take that upon and take it seriously, and decided to do cooking classes. And so 2015, I quit my job, and Center for Women's Entrepreneurship at Chatham have been from the day one, I've gone to them for help. And it had been amazing. Without them, I couldn't have started my business. I mean, there may be other ways, but that was who helped me start my business, Popping Mustard Seeds. It was about July or August of 2015. Then immediately I started teaching through them, from one person to another person, word of mouth. There used to be a Pittsburgh Public Market, which was in the Strip District, not so far. It was like, 17th, 18th, I forget. Not
like
that,
23rd Street.
23rd Street, something like that. And I got an opportunity to do a series of 5 classes there, or 4 classes, I don't remember exactly. So I did, that was my beginning. And, that was a big learning process. Even before that, I brought friends from different groups of my friends, 4 or 5 groups, to test out my teaching skills. And I just wanted feedback. The first one was absolute chaos, because I had no idea what I was doing. I just threw in all these, I knew what I wanted to cook, but no recipes. I just was telling people, do this, do that. And then I realized, and then I got feedback after feedback, and then I realized I had to sit down and actually work out recipes, which took months to do. That was what I think I spent a lot of time. I'm still polishing my recipes, I should say. And then I started teaching, and then people came home. My first class was at my house. 10th year anniversary I just had from the first class in, I think it was December or January of maybe 2015 or 2014, I forget, a day, the December or January. And then in August or September, I started teaching. And then I realized I don't know much. I know how to cook. I know I can put the recipes down. I can follow recipes. I brought all my books to show you. I can take notes, and from my notes, I can cook from my mother's giving me, knowledge. My mother-in-law, I learned. But I don't know much more than that. And what I mean by that is food is another world out there. And my world is so small. And so I was looking, and then people would ask me all these questions in classes. Oh, I've heard about this about Indian cooking, or what's the difference between North and South? And I was not very knowledgeable, I should say. I mean, I would have to guess. And some of the things I knew intuitively from just experience, but I didn't know a lot. And so I was looking for what should I do? How should I continue this? I don't want to just be teaching cooking, and I need more for me. As I'm doing this as a passion, as a second career, I need more knowledge in this area. And my husband took a sabbatical. He's a professor at Pitt, and we were in California for 6 months, and we were in Berkeley actually, and they had a class that taught, that was just a seminar class public could attend. It was about food, and we would attend that class, and there was Will Allen was one of the guests, and Anna LaPay was one of the guests, and all these people. I was just totally amazed at the seminars.
That's fantastic. What a great lineup.
Right?
Yeah.
It was organic, in my opinion. This was meant to be. And then, right? And then Anna LaPay had this show. She was doing these movies, and they were selecting competition like farmers. There were a lot of these little community gardens, and then we had to vote for them. And then I got a chance. It was small enough. I got a chance to talk to her. I didn't even realize how important she is. And then I realized she was Frances Moore LaPay's daughter, which I didn't realize. And then I was talking to her, and she said, oh, you should go talk to Alice Julier. There's a food studies program in Pittsburgh. And I kind of had heard about the program, but I didn't think I fit into it at all, because, at that time I was just cooking. And then I wrote to Rebecca Harris, who used to be the director of Center for Women's Entrepreneurship, and said, hey, do you know Alice Julier? Because I just heard that I should connect with her. Oh, absolutely. That was her response. And she connected me with Alice. And that's how I started looking into the food study. The rest is history. And here I was. In 2017, I entered the program. 2019, I graduated from the program. That's how I got in. And I'm telling you, that was the best thing that ever happened to me for this part of my life, because I've learned so much.
Yeah.
And because you've been in that program.
Oh, it's intense. Yeah.
It's very, and there were the first couple semesters, I like, what the heck am I doing here? I'm not a sociologist or an anthropologist. This is not for me, because I'm an engineer. I have a different kind of brain set. And I had to work probably 5 times as hard as all the kids in the class. And they were all at least, 20 to 30 years younger than me.
I feel you. Yep. I was there the same way.
But I tell you, every moment of that was worth it, and it's still worth it. When I came back from California, and then we were also in England, and then I realized turmeric was everywhere. What the heck is going on? Root turmeric. I'm not talking about turmeric powder. We actually never use that in our cooking, and we use mostly turmeric powder. And I'm like, what's the fad about this? So that became my curiosity, and my thesis turned out to be on turmeric, not about the benefits or health or about turmeric, but more about why are farmers growing turmeric in the U.S.
So why are farmers growing turmeric?
Right, that was my question.
Uh-huh.
Well, what the heck are you doing? not everyone was organic and sustainable, but some of them were. And all of them, though, believed turmeric was got health benefits. Every single one of them talked about how they include turmeric in their diets, either as a smoothie or they put it in their dishes. Sometimes they have some connection with Indian wives or Indian friends, or the person in Pittsburgh actually said that he sold it to bars where they had, like smoothies and stuff. So it was for many different reasons. And also, curcumin is the chemical substance in turmeric that is known to be good for your inflammation. And they're doing a lot of studies on seeing how turmeric can cure many diseases. And they're still working on them. They don't have a definite answer. But they're also making tablets out of turmeric, like everything else, And that was what the professor in Alabama was doing. He was working with a company that supplements, and he was testing which kind of turmeric has the most curcumin and when to plant it, when to grow it, how long does it have to be in the ground for it to produce more turmeric. So there's lots of details about this, and everybody was doing it because they believe they're helping in the health world and for themselves. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is it not true that it's healthy?
It's not untrue. Let's put it that way. It's everything. So initially I wanted to look at the health benefits because I tried to write papers in the first semester when we, the one paper we have to do on production, I forget what it's called.
Follow a product through the food system. Yes.
But what I found was I'm not capable of reading all those papers, academic papers, because only it's intense. I don't have the background. It's very medical, chemistry oriented, which I don't have the background to understand even their language. I would read the abstract and start reading stuff. I'm like, I don't even know. There's just these words blow me off. Then I would look at the conclusions, and it always was, they'll have a table of it helps this, these studies show. Inflammation was one of the things that everybody said. And then they're testing for cure of cancer and stuff. But at the end, it's like more studies needed, which is probably, these are hard to do. Any food related studies associated with health, I found, you need kind of like this horizontal, this kind of longitudinal studies for these things, because you have to follow somebody's life. It's not just a turmeric, right? But then what do capsules do? And then I realized, no, I don't want to do this. I do not want to focus on the health benefits. I want to focus on more the sociology part of it and why people are. I quickly learned that.
That's a lot more approachable.
It's also not simple. You need to understand the language, the experiments, and I would have to do a whole different degree in that.
Yeah. Hey Pittsburgh, want to reduce your carbon footprint but don't have the space to compost? Meet Worm Return, your neighborhood, woman-owned, socially responsible composting service. Worm Return provides the containers, picks up your food scraps at your house, and turns them into nutrient-rich soil amendments. Plus, you get personalized consultations and reports on your environmental impact. Join the movement to keep food scraps out of landfills. Call Worm Return today and start composting the easy way. Sign up today at wormreturn.com. Worm Return, using food scraps to create landscape, not landfills. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Chennai in India, which is in the southeastern part of India, which is along the coast actually. And Tamil Nadu is one of the states. If you look in the map, it's like if you think of the bottom of the India like a triangle, inverted like, and it's up north of the state is where Chennai is. I was brought up there all my life until I came to the US for grad school.
So did you learn how to cook from your mom? Or
Not when I was growing up in India.
Okay.
So I grew up in a Brahmin family where the children were not even allowed in the kitchen because they were not clean. Basically, you need to shower before you enter the kitchen. And in the morning, we're just getting ready to go to school, and they're more focusing on our education at that point. And we come back in the afternoon, and my mother and my grandmother are typically in the kitchen, and everything has to be clean because of all the dust can easily get in, and people walking from outside can't just go into the kitchen. Kitchen was a sacred place in the sense for cleanliness. I'm sure there are Indian families who allow their children to go in and learn how to cook, and probably that has changed in the years, even in our families. But I was not, and by the time I got to be a teenager and went to college, that's like my interest started at that time. And I think my mother had to go away for a weekend or a week, and then I kind of had to learn how to cook at that time. And she had, I watched her and smelled and all that stuff, but I had no idea what I was doing. I did not learn that, to answer your question.
So what did you make for yourself when your mom wasn't home?
Well, the only thing I remember, I'm sure, the typical South Indian food is rice as the staple, and then we have a lentil dish, and then we have a vegetable dish, and then we have yogurt. And anything more is extra. This is like a typical meal. So you have your carbs, your protein, your veggies, and you have your dairy. Because dairy, we eat so much dairy, like for digestion almost, we have to have dairy at the end. At least for me, I wasn't allergic to it or anything.
But no animal meat?
Not in my household.
Okay.
So we were vegetarians, and that's the way I was raised. And that's what I still am, a vegetarian. When I came here, I could have easily, converted to eating everything, but that's another story why I stayed vegetarian. But so dal, which is lentils, rice, and potatoes or something. I don't remember the details of what I made for myself, but I remember the potatoes because I used to love the potato curry my mother used to make.
Well, you didn't go and make yourself like a peanut butter sandwich because that wasn't a thing. Like you had to actually cook food in order to eat something.
When we were, but for breakfast, and I think this was maybe during the holidays, because for breakfast we just have a toast and run out. And then my mother, it's not like I don't even remember peanut butter jelly or anything like that until I came to the US, but it would be some kind of jelly, maybe butter. Bread butter jam, that's a very English thing. Mm-hmm. That's where, so England, bread butter jam is a thing that they make a toast, they put butter, and then they put jam, and that's a toast dish they eat. And so it carried over because British were in India. We had a lot of influence, and that's one of the things that we took from the British.
So did you make actual loaves of bread?
No, bread we didn't make at home because we didn't have an oven.
Gotcha.
And bread would be bought at the bakery, and then we would use the slices to make we had a toaster, and we had bread butter jam. We had typically when you're really young, they feed you rice 4 times a day typically. Or they would eat things like dosas. I don't know if you know dosas and idlis for breakfast.
I do know dosa. It's on my list to talk to you about.
Dosas and idlis are typical Indian breakfast. But when, that sometimes we would eat. But then I remember the toast, running away to school with a little tiffin box, we call it. There's a lunch box. And we just take rice with some lentils or yogurt and pickles or something. And that's what we took. Then when we went to college, my mother used to send hot food in a tiffin carrier. So it's like a three boxes which fit one on top of the other, and then it's all together. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Lunchbox. If you haven't, I highly recommend that movie, Lunchbox. It's actually a very romantic love story which happens in Mumbai, but it's everywhere. Lunchbox is these tiffin carriers that your parents or your wife send it to where you work or college or school, whatever. It's mostly for adults, after you're in college. And we typically stay in college. If we are going to college in the same town, we commute from home. We don't stay in the dorms unless you're coming from out of state or out of town. And the lunch will be sitting there. These guys pick up lunches from different places and then they transfer it to where it's go, and then it'll be sitting there in the girls' common room, and me and my friends will pick up our lunches, we'll sit and eat.
Your mom or your spouse would send it to this location through a courier.
Exactly.
And then they would all be in this room. How would you know? Would it have your name on it?
They'll have names or the bags,
So you know what yours is, and you go in there. And
exactly. And, And the amazing thing is these guys who transfer, sometimes there's no name written. They know where. And it also exchanges few hands. They have a big basket on their bicycle and they just transfer these things. It's amazing how this works.
What a really interesting sort of underground system that just everyone takes for granted, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
It just works.
Yeah. And we all compare notes. We could exchange food. So that was the typical meal. And then when we come home, there's always something called tiffin, which is again a dosa or a idli or some kind of a snack dish.
Like your afternoon tea.
Afternoon tea dish, coffee, whatever. It depends on how old you are, what dish you have, and then you have your dinner. Kind of an early, everything, and actually a later dinner, and then you go to bed after dinner. Pretty much that's how the system works. Today, I don't know what the question was. I went all over the place.
No, that was fantastic. That was absolutely perfect. Yeah. Just wondering about what you remember about food from back home.
Oh, yeah, and the smells and the food. My favorite thing is the lunchbox to talk about to people, because I think that's a very unique system they have in India, and it's still going on. It could in Mumbai, now even in Chennai, there's a train transfer that it goes from different parts. I mean, you could be working miles away and your food will get to you.
So your lunchbox essentially has a journey of its own that it takes every day, like it's a pet or a child.
Exactly. And the movie you should watch, Lunchbox, actually tells you the little mix-up that could happen. You can imagine mix-ups.
I can only, absolutely. I'm seeing all the different things that can go wrong, for sure.
Yes.
So much.
And they do happen. And it didn't happen to me, but you should watch the movie.
Yeah,
I don't want to give away any more.
Okay, we'll keep that a secret. So you mentioned dosa. You were talking earlier about Trevor and how you worked with him on fermentation stuff. Trevor was a guest just a couple weeks ago. But dosa, when I first started learning to like spicy food, my husband took me to an Indian restaurant and we walked through the different flavors because the hotness just got me. It just distracted me. I couldn't focus. But he was just like, well, taste this, and what you're looking for is this. And so he walked me through until now I can eat really spicy food. But it was a South Indian restaurant that we went to, and they made dosa.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the most phenomenal thing. How do you make it? And they're like, oh, it's very complicated. It's very complicated. It takes, eventually I did make some dosa, which is really just such a great thing. You have to monitor it. But so did you do dosa with Trevor?
I did dosas and idlis with Trevor. Did you go to Udupi? Was it in Pittsburgh that you went to the dosa restaurant? Or
the first one was like back in the 90s. It was like 95. How long have you been here?
Yeah, I've been here since 81.
Okay.
A long time. My God, it's going to be 44 years.
Wow.
Some people I say in my class, you weren't even born at that time.
No, it's so crazy.
I'm more American than you are now, in some ways.
Sure.
But yeah, so those are... So it was interesting you said people don't like things sitting in their counter. But they do make fermented food, sauerkraut and stuff, right?
Some people, it's still like that is like people can get around the vegetable ferments a little easier than they could maybe the protein, because that's what scares people is the protein sitting out on the counter. I'm just, in my experience, I think, when they told me, oh, it's very complicated to make this.
Well,
I think they were sort of being like, oh, people don't want to bother with doing that process, you know.
I don't think it's very complicated. It's I think the recipes vary from, like everything else, community, region, and each person will tell you, I have the best dosa recipe. Oh, you should follow this or that, all this stuff. Dosa is simply made with rice and urud dal. Urud dal is a kind of lentil which has a black covering to it. Typically, you buy the whole urud. You can use also split. When it's split, it's a lentil. When it's whole, it's a bean. That's the difference between split beans and lentils, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's simple. I thought there were different things.
No,
Okay.
you can have mung beans or urud goda, they call it, which is whole urud. And then when you split it, it's either lentil urud dal or same thing with mung dal. And each one has a covering, and sometimes the names go by that covering. Now, urud dal is the black gram dal, is what it's called. And it's the whole has a black thing in it. And the other thing with dals is you don't have to soak it too long, or you can cook it without soaking. But beans, you have to soak it overnight, 6 hours or more, because otherwise it takes much longer to cook. It's not very efficient. So given that the difference between dal and lentil, you can use either dal or the whole bean for making dosas and idlis. It's rice which is short grain. There's a special kinds of rice like ponni, it's called short grain rice. Idli rice, sometimes they sell it as idli rice, which is not your basmati long grain rice. Now, you can make, don't get me wrong, you can make dosas with basmati rice and urud dal versus short grain ponni rice and whole urud. Still, you can make dosas. Now, how much fermentation happens, how crispy your dosa comes, all depends on the ratios of this. Not only that, and what kind you use. Now, how you grind it is very, very important, which is what I learned. Dosas are much more forgiving than idlis. Dosas are like pancakes. You have a batter, you think of making
like crepes,
it like a crepe,
crepes,
and you can make it, right? But idlis, unless it's fermented correctly, it's not going to become soft and fluffy. And you do not want to eat hard idlis. They have to be steamed and they have to be soft and fluffy because they're like rice cakes. So you have a rice and the dal. For dosas, you need more rice. So typically, 1 portion of dal to maybe 3 or 4 portions of rice for dosas. For idlis, maybe 2 portions of rice, right? And this will vary. Sometimes you add fenugreek to it. Fenugreek helps, I believe, in fermentation. Now, initially, dosas and idlis were made with just dal. And then they realized adding the rice helps crispiness or whatever it is. And so you soak them, you grind them. Now you need a powerful blender. These blenders I'm talking about, the Indian dosa blenders, they are, of course, you switch on the power. They're high motorized, high power motor, and they will make you that soft batter for you. The longer you grind it and the softer and bubbles come out of it, better for fermentation. Now, I have a Vitamix. When I took Sally's fermentation class, Sally wanted me to try to make the idlis and dosas. And that was my project in her class. And my friend who has a Vitamix said, you should try a Vitamix. It's similar to the other grinder I'm talking about. I didn't want to invest in this huge grinder. So I went and bought a Vitamix. Till today, I'm so thankful I got that Vitamix. I use it for everything. My secret was the Vitamix.
So that's the secret. There you go.
I call it a secret, but people will swear that it's better to grind it slower and longer. So it depends who you're talking to, but that helps the fermentation process, in my opinion.
I've used a variety of just not scientifically based at all, but different lentils and different rices and mixed those together. And one of my favorites was the pink, and I had this pink batter,
Masoor dal.
a red lentil.
Yeah.
And it was...
How
this
was
pink
it
batter
compared to
beautiful.
urud?
I mean, I've enjoyed it all. I mean, I
Dosas are, like I said, forgiving. You can make it with
they
almost
really are.
almost anything, I would say. Just make a batter, and we make wheat dosas, we make
Yeah, I was going to say
cream of wheat
does
dosas.
cream of wheat. Yeah, is that just cream
And
of
you
wheat?
don't have to ferment for that. You
Really?
actually mix a little yogurt, and it's also, they put a lot of seasonings on it and everything, and they kind of sometimes grind it, but you don't even have to, and they pour it in a certain way that it makes these holes like Swiss cheese almost.
It looks like lace. They're so
That's
beautiful.
lace,
Yes,
yeah,
they're gorgeous.
yeah. So I would say I do sometimes teach that. I don't think I've perfected that. Well, if you go to Udupi and eat those, nothing is going to be a restaurant and home. You can't compare. Home is home because you use your small griddles to make things, and it's home. And we go to Udupi's because we don't make it at home. We want to go and eat it there. I don't make dosas like they make it in Udupi, but I make my homemade dosas, which can be very crispy, and you can put potato filling in it. And but idlis, like I said, the process is very more important for idlis in my mind than dosas.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of idlis. I mean, they're kind of.
If you eat good idlis with proper sambar and chutneys, you will become a fan of idlis. You just have to know how to eat it.
Okay, all right. Well, I would love to go to dinner with you sometime and have you teach me
Yeah,
how to eat it.
let's do that. Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah. From mechanical engineer to now this business of teaching people how to cook Indian food.
Yeah.
That is such a
Big
broad
change.
journey. Yeah. And especially as, a kid not being able to cook, and now you're making up for all that time.
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't know I wanted to be an engineer when I was growing up, and neither did I know I wanted to be a cook. What I thought I would be, I was good at math, and I would work in something involving math, like a bank or whatever, right? But then I have 4 older brothers. In India, they want you to be in a professional, especially because I was a woman and could easily be straight off to get married. My brothers were kind of protecting me, and they said, you need to go to engineering school. So they made sure I went to engineering school. I had no idea what I was doing. But once I got into it, I loved it. I learned so much, and I loved mechanical engineering because it's hands-on. For me, I think for me, hands-on, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I need to know the mechanism of things. Of course, in cooking, there's a lot of chemistry involved, which I don't always understand. Some of it you do, but not always. So it's what I guess that's how it became like a change for me, easy change from mechanical engineering to cooking. However, I'll tell you why I got interested in cooking. When I first came to the US, I'm a vegetarian. And I was lucky to have Indian friends who came to pick me up from the airport at JFK, and we went to Stony Brook, which is in Long Island. And I met with other Indian people, and I ate what I would have eaten at home that night.
Oh, wow.
Lemon rice and sambar, and I was like, wow, I came 10,000 miles for this. And and then I realized, okay, I don't have to learn to not be a vegetarian, because if you come here and you just have a cheese sandwich, then you realize maybe I should start eating other things. So I got interested in cooking. And then when I became a student, then I came to CMU, I didn't know anybody here. Then I made friends, and then I learned a lot with cooking. Even at Stony Brook, we cooked with each other and learned a lot from each other. Some of us knew cooking and some of us didn't know cooking. And then when my mother came and visited, I learned from her. And then when I got married, my mother-in-law, she's also from South India, from a different region, and so from a different state. So I learned that kind of cooking. And what I realized is I'm now responsible for 2 people, me and my husband. I have to make sure that I know what I'm doing. Because I felt responsible.
Yeah.
And so, I would try out different things, and it's fun. It started becoming fun. Then we'd invite people when you think you can make something and learn from each other. And then of course, mothers and mother-in-law. And then when I had children, even when I was pregnant, I realized I have to stay healthy. And so I started learning about, what to eat as a vegetarian, how to stay healthy and nutritious and stuff like that. And like I said, I never thought I'd go into teaching cooking until people started asking me, can you teach me how to make this or that? And then it's more than once and more than one person asking. Then you think, okay, maybe this is something, they're enjoying my food. Maybe this is something I can actually teach. Believe it or not, it's so satisfying. So
I have a question for you though, because I had a similar experience when I got married and having to buy food and then cook food and then clean up from food and then buy food and then cook food and then clean, and that whole cycle. Couldn't afford to go out to eat. Anyway, this whole cycle of constant, like it was never gonna end. And I had, after a few months of that, I had a meltdown where my husband came and found me in a puddle in the kitchen on the floor because I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like it was so, I don't know. It was a big deal for me.
It's time consuming and intense, yeah.
And I thought, is this what my life is? Like, is that all I'm going to be doing now for the rest of my life? Because it's not an easy thing to learn. So parents listening, get your kids to start doing that in an early age so it's not a big deal. But you didn't have that experience. So was it similar for you? Did you have a moment of like, oh my God?
I don't recall having that kind of a moment, but all I recall having is I need to survive. I'm a poor grad student. They're not paying me much. I mean, they're paying me some scholarship, but not much. I have to learn to live with it. And more for me is I'm living by myself and I need to take care of my health. And how do I avoid, how do I stay healthy?
Yeah.
That was my driving force for cooking, to learn to be able to cook and eat well. Because what happens was, when I first came to this country, there's these vending machines. You walk in, they've got so inviting, right? Cookies and chips and ice cream and
all the junk.
And I did take advantage of that initially because it's all new to us. I did not grow up having vending machines around me. And it's like, oh my, 50 cents and I can get out 25 cents. I can get So, and then I realized, luckily, very early on, that look at the ingredients in it. Sodium very high.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what the heck is all those things that they put in there? So I think I started becoming conscious more and more and more as I got married and had children, and realized that you're responsible for all these people, for their health. And I think that was what made me stay and become more interested in cooking.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
It really is.
I mean, it can be positive or negative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have another question. You said your brothers were protecting you and steered you towards engineering, mechanical engineering.
Well, mechanical was my choice.
Okay, so they steered you towards engineering.
Yeah.
So were they trying to protect you and steer you towards a career as opposed to getting married and then being a stay-at-home mom or whatever? Having
children? I don't think they told me this in those words, but that's what I take from. I've learned a lot from my brothers growing up because my father died when I was a baby. And my uncle who raised us. But I've learned to be open-minded and broad-minded and to be wanting to learn and gain knowledge through them, I should say. They provoked my interests. So I think that's what it is. They protected me from being a standard housewife or, there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want to say that being a husband and having children, there's, that's another big job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
but that's not what they wanted for me. And they wanted me to be independent, so I can have my own career. I think that was their main goal.
So where did you meet your husband?
In Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I was a grad student at CMU, and he just started, was an assistant, just came to Pittsburgh. In fact, I came in 81, he came in 82. He got his job at Pitt in the statistics department as an assistant professor. So he came to teach at Pitt, and there were some people in his department who were Indians who were keen on us getting together for whatever reason. And then they tried.
So it wasn't an arranged marriage, but it was
kind of
conspired.
And I was a little bummed about it because I said, I came all the way here, not to get arranged marriage. But, long story short, yes, that's how I met my husband. And, it took a year or so before we actually started dating. But soon after we dated, we knew we wanted to get married. So that's how I met him.
So it was a pretty good guess then, your friend's part.
Yes. And I'm glad. Initially, I was against the whole thing. I was like, no, this is not going to happen. And then, after I met him and we got to know each other, of course, I'm glad that
That's
happened.
great.
Yes.
Sometimes your friends know what you need. It's nice.
Yeah, apparently they did. While one of them got arranged marriage, she never knew this person and she got married to him.
Did that work out?
Yeah, I think they're still together. Yeah.
I guess if you have a commitment and you're both decent people, it can work.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I feel like if people knew Brett and people knew me, they would have somehow at some point they would have put us together because it's pretty good match.
Compatible.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it worked out and I'm happy and he's happy.
Great. So what's next for Popping Mustard Seeds?
Oh, good question. I'll still be teaching. Teaching is one of my biggest passions. So I'm not sure. Thinking of products. I'm doing chai masala, but one of my friends recently told me, hey, you should go and make other Indian mixed powders like sambar powder or whatever, rasam powder, Those are some of the dishes in South India, or chana masala powder, whatever it is. So I'm thinking about it, and one of my missions is to involve community and teach them, which I'm doing now. I'm teaching to the community around me. But another one is also leave something for my family, for my children, my recipes. So I'm trying to work on maybe putting something together, just starting this whole, but I'm one of those people where I just don't want to write a cookbook or something like that. So it has been more meaningful. So I'm working on that part. So I don't know where it's going. We're testing recipes, let me say, me and my family.
That's great.
So maybe it'll come out somewhere. We'll see.
That's exciting.
How that goes. Yeah, it's exciting.
So where can people find you, your product, reach you? Your social media?
I have a website, poppingmustardseeds.com, and you can find me there. Mainly, right now, my website will take you to my cooking classes at Phipps, or then I send you to their links if you want to take the classes. Also, you can buy my classes where I come and give private lessons to you, individual or groups, or I also offer virtual lessons, but only one group of people have taken advantage so far, which worked out fine for me. That was a few years ago. That's where you can find me. And I also, if you want to get on my mailing list, you can sign up on my website and it'll come directly to me, and then I will put you on my mailing list. And if there's anything going on, like a meal kit coming up, I don't do it very regularly, but I try to do it once a month, but it doesn't always happen. So I would send an email out saying, hey, there's going to be a meal kit and you can purchase it, and then I set up my website so that people can go purchase it. Or if there's a product, I announce that.
The key thing is to get on your mailing list. So
Yes.
You know what's coming up. Excellent.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Jay, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
My pleasure.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon. Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.